Hello and welcome. I'm so happy to be here again talking with Erica, wonderful osteopathic practitioner and friend and colleague-ish, dare I say. And my name's Marla, and we are doing part two of that respiratory diaphragm and the just that amazing muscle, the respiratory diaphragm. And I'm just amazed at how many things are connected to our breathing, how many parts of our body, how many ailments, issues, stress from stress to digestion to mental health. I would just love to hear your reflections on that, Erica.
Yeah, that conversation we had last week was really good.
It
And
was fun.
there was lots to think about. Yeah, so many things. Where do we begin?
Well, most people think that let's start where what are the perceptions out there in the world? Because I feel like I'm like a cheerleader for the respiratory diaphragm, and I feel like a big part of my work is helping people get as excited about it as I am. I feel like it's really empowering to learn that if you can unlock that breathing diaphragm and get that muscle going in its down and up pumping motion, the
Mm,
amount of things that you can improve in your overall health. So I find it fascinating that most people come to me and they say, I know that I don't breathe well and I don't breathe enough. So I have a bit of a theory that when people are highly stressed, we know that the respiratory diaphragm is one of the fight, flight, freeze muscles. So if we're in stress mode, mental, emotional, or environmental stress, whatever the stress is, the diaphragm often gets stuck. So
yeah.
then we tend to feel stressed and move into the short, shallow breathing, which
Mhm.
gives us very high oxygen levels.
Mm.
So I find it challenging to try to work with my clients and say, okay, I know you feel like you're not breathing, but that's just because your diaphragm is locked. It's
Mm.
stuck in the fight, flight, freeze. But what's actually happening is you're taking a lot of these short, shallow breaths, which adds up to very high oxygen levels. So
Yeah.
that's a mental hurdle for people.
Yeah. And also then that they think, okay, I'm going to work on my breath and I need to take deep breaths.
Yes.
We
And
sort
so
of
then
began to talk about last time. Yeah.
totally. And I see it all over social media too. These people saying, take a breathing break with me. And they're like, take a breath in and take a breath out.
Yeah.
And again, and I'm just like, oh, so relaxed breathing and getting your diaphragm moving is not about bringing more effort.
No, it's actually slowing down too. That is, I think we both understand that, how the soft, gentle breaths. I think I mentioned last time about trying to follow somebody's rhythm in it was a meditation of sorts,
You did.
and yeah, and I felt like I had to breathe to their rhythm, and I was like, oh gosh, just ignore them because actually that's just making you more tense that you're not following whatever rhythm is being suggested. It's really
Mm-hmm.
unique to each person and to take the time to allow that rhythm. The other thing that's really interesting about breath, which might be why people have a hard time with it, is that it's very quick to divert, right? Like, okay, I'm going to observe my breath, and then suddenly you're like squirrel and off into another.
Right.
So it's something that you
True.
just have to kind of coax yourself back towards, like noticing the body or noticing the changes in volume, slight, the rise and fall, the widening, whatever it is that you're paying attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's hard. And so I often share with my clients, like I'll do a breath recording for them, or I have a few that more general ones that I've created, and that can help because then gives your mind something to rest on. The other thing I love for that is the ujjayi breathing, that whisper from your deep in the throat, because the sound gives your mind something to rest in. Yeah, the mind likes to just jump and bounce and jump and bounce. And like, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. That's okay. But I find people tend to connect like, oh yeah, I know I don't breathe and I don't breathe very well. And they think that that's why they're tired. Like breath, air that we breathe, oxygen is associated with prana, energy, life force, much like food. Food, we need some food to give us energy. Too much food makes us feel sluggish. If
Mm.
we overeat and our system is bogged down with all of this food, we feel sluggish. But the right amount of food gives us energy. And it's the same with breath.
Yeah.
The right amount.
Yeah, the right amount, pacing. Yeah, I automatically, when I think about breath, aside from things in osteopathy I learned, I think about my Feldenkrais training, um, and how one of the, it's always sort of like a metronome or something that you're always um, gauging. Like, okay, for the movement to be good, you need to be conscious of your breath as well, and present to that or I should say, aware that there is breath in and out. So you have a sort of
Mhm.
like background of like, yes, I am still breathing easily, and this movement is improving, and I'm able to do these things simultaneously. So you learn how to kind of keep connection to that. And like I said, you do come in and out of
Yeah.
those aspects of the awareness of your breath. But what's also really beautiful in Feldenkrais's work is just the positioning. And he has a very famous series called well, it's the lung series, or it is
Mm-hmm.
breath series. And he really plays in this whole series of lessons with different positions of the body,
Mm-hmm.
on the floor and then seated, to noticing different areas and actually bringing more awareness, more breath in a soft, gentle way, and try and playing with different strategies. I love that series. I think it's a sort of a must. Like
Mm-hmm.
When COVID began, my uh, my intent was again to help people with their breath. I know I can help people learn, and so I actually started very close, like very soon. I started with this series and taught that series to the people that were attending my lessons. So
Oh, wonderful.
it's so beautiful. He's so
Yeah,
smart.
I love that work so much. I really, really do. I think inquiries into your breathing and learning to gather information through breath observation is just so incredibly powerful. And so when I teach breathing, I try to teach the principles rather and I as much as possible I avoid giving the breath counts. So I try to teach it as a principle so that I'm giving them the information to work with their breath and to start to notice their breath in certain situations.
There would I so gentleness and softness would be one of the principles. What would
So what I mean by that is, yeah, noticing when you're feeling agitated and your breath becomes agitated, and your chest becomes tight. So a principle would be like when you want to practice relaxed breathing, ask yourself if your breath could be just a little bit slower. Could it be a little bit softer, rather than trying to fit into a 4 count inhale, 8 count exhale, or 4, 12, 6, all these numbers and things. Those can be helpful because it can give you that sort of metronome, relax into a rhythm. But in order to understand how to relax into a rhythm, you need a rhythm that fits you.
Mhm.
So if you start to understand, how do I create a rhythm? Like I love to teach people to do walking and breathing. So I'm doing this with my hands because you do this with your feet, right? When we're walking, we can, for out for a walk, we can create a rhythm with our feet. And you can count for 4, you can count for 6, you can count for 8, you could inhale for 4, exhale for 4. And it all depends on, are you going up a hill? Are you on flat terrain? Are you going down a hill? Do you have long legs, short legs? So I use 4 as a guideline, but maybe it's 6, maybe it's
Right.
3. For me, going up a hill, I do this a lot. So for me, it's 3, 3, 3, 3, going up a hill, and then I'm breathing vigorously because I'm keeping up a good walking
Yeah.
pace. So understanding the principle that you're so as it becomes more complex, the principle is your inhale would be shorter, your exhale would be a little bit longer, and there would be a little pause. So
Hmm.
if you understand that framework, you can play with the numbers.
Yeah.
Find the right numbers that you can do.
Yeah, it makes me, your walking reminds me or makes me think of the nose breathing and jogging. So I'm not a vigorous jogger, but at a certain point in my life, I was like, okay, I need to continue to work on my cardio health in a way that's interesting. And I took James Nestor's cue, the author of the book, The Lost Art of Breathing or Breath,
Yeah.
and decided I was going to try to figure out how to nose breathe while I was jogging, which
Amazing.
really took a lot of interesting observation,
Hmm.
and sort of had to reorganize the way I was sensing my spine and lengthening, so
Hmm.
that I wouldn't get that gasping,
Yes. And so
the air hunger.
the air hunger, yeah. So we generally start people with, can you go for a walk with your mouth closed?
Yes.
Can you go for a brisk, but you're like me, you're like, I want to get to the goods. I want to get to the goods. But
Yeah,
it
and
depends on our level, right?
yeah, for sure. And I just said, okay, I'm going to start with a pace where I I can only nose breathe. So my pace was
Yes.
very slow for sure. But why I wanted to mention that also was because for me there was something about connection through the spine. And we began to
Mm,
talk about the structures and how this diaphragm is like really connected to the spine and develops with its connection. And I think people also do you introduce that in your work as the lengthening because it is the anchor. If you're not able to keep some sort of integrity of length in your spine, it
mhm.
doesn't have the support.
Yeah.
Is that something that's
That doesn't specifically come up. I think I often think about and play with in yoga in early days of my teaching career. I felt like yoga classes were always telling me to lengthen on the inhale and kind of maintain it as you exhale. And then as I delved more into other practices and other modalities, dabbled, I'm going to say dabbled.
Mhm.
I started to understand that more osteopathically or craniosacral, our bodies kind of widen on the inhale and they get narrower and taller on the exhale.
Mm.
So I have been playing with kind of those competing images and trying not to say one is right, one is wrong. One might be more physiologically accurate or cellular breathing, or I don't know.
But certainly having some sort of sense of length. Like for me, I think that a more consciously, it helps me to think of lengthening on an exhale, just because otherwise I might collapse because everybody tends
Yeah,
to pull up, if you will, with the
yeah,
inhale. And I find that actually I need to lengthen the spine on the exhale in most instances, not everything. I mean, it but yeah, and now my brain is all trying to like mental gymnastics, some
yes. Well, in my
I
exploration, and
just
I've
don't want to
explored
go
this
into.
one. Yes, I've explored this one for a few years, and I can genuinely say that what feels harmonious in my body, like say I'm laying down, or if I'm in a comfortable seated position and I'm nice and stable, the slight getting slightly wider on the inhale and then kind of taller and narrower on the exhale feels 100% harmonious. Sometimes we have other objectives like doing eldoa. Sometimes as I'm trying to help people maintain that length and height through their spine as we're trying to lengthen and flatten out the curves, I might say like let's imagine we can breathe into our intervertebral discs and that we're just as we're breathing those intervertebral discs are like bike tires and they're just kind of puffing up just that tiny little bit in order to help assist them in maintaining that space through their spine. But in terms of harmonious breathing, and I do feel the ultimate goal with breath is that we start to retrain the unconscious breathing to be a
Mhm.
little more, that our home position is more in a place of relaxation and homeostasis, relative, right? Relative ease. If
Yep.
we can be in relative ease, then our diaphragm is moving, our breath is a little calmer, a little slower.
Hmm. Um, when we let's go back to positions because I think
Yeah.
people would be would appreciate some cues or clues to how to explore at home. We've talked about ease, and I've begun to mention position. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
what I always do with my patients, students, clients, is ask them to explore different positions on the ground. So they're lying on the ground with their legs bent, with their legs long,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, on
Mm-hmm.
one side, on the other side, which side is more comfortable for you. That's
Mm-hmm.
always a good place to start. And even on the belly. in on the belly is interesting because we tend to breathe more lower down in the body and more in the
Mhm.
back space, which actually the lungs have more space in the back than they do in the front and descend or
Mhm.
lower down. They go further down
Mhm.
in the body.
Yeah, our diaphragm kind of drops down into those low back ribs, right? And we've got that lung tissue that drops down into that almost like a
Exactly.
cavern or crevasse.
Yeah, it's a recess. It's called a the
Recess. There we go. I go to mountains and landscapes.
yeah, yeah,
Recess. That makes sense.
pulmonary recess. Yeah. So there's
Mhm.
like, it's like double folds that open and allow for the lung tissue, the parenchyma of the lung, the pleural tissue to take space. So if you imagine like a sock with a balloon in it and you blow into the balloon is going to open the sock. So it's like that.
Mm,
And you have them in the front and the back. You have them on each side of the middle section of your torso called the mediastinum and in the back
mhm,
in the
mhm,
back as well.
mhm.
Um, and yeah, it's they need to be able to slide. So
Oh, fun.
the lying on the belly, they do that with pneumonia patients sometimes, and definitely with COVID. So like in the ER, a lot of the COVID patients were on their bellies so that they would be able to breathe better, um,
Wow.
and move the fluid out. Lungs
Hmm.
also release a lot of fluid too. So I think James Nestor talks about that in his book too, about
It does.
the exhale as a means to excrete or eliminate fluid as well as toxins too.
Hmm.
And so it's important. I like to give, encouraging bits of information that will encourage people to do this. So it's like, you're going to lose
Absolutely.
weight. You're going to lose water weight. Or,
Yes, yes,
um,
or certainly in times of, thinking of back to COVID, I was really encouraging people that, your primary area of breath is your nose. I mean, your primary muscle is your diaphragm, but your nose is designed, it has a filter, like the gasping and breathing through our mouths is, our ability to breathe through our mouth is designed to be like in case something happens to your nose.
yeah,
There's an expression in Buteyko, we
yeah.
say, we should breathe through our mouth as often as we eat through our nose.
Oh, yeah, gosh, that's great.
It's kind of crazy. But back to your idea about positions, because I really love
Hmm.
that. And I wanted to say that that also helps with the monkey mind thing, like the squirrel mind, where you're like,
Yeah,
squirrel. So if you're laying on, you're giving them an inquiry, basically saying, okay, try it lay on the floor into this position, try breathing into those back ribs, and then try the other side, which side feels better. So you're giving them a little investigation, like, um, and if you can just bring in a little bit of curiosity of like, okay, well, how far down can I feel my breath? Like,
yeah,
can I breathe some space into my low back ribs? Can I feel a sense? Because we can't touch our breathing diaphragm. We talked about that last time. Like it's inside our body. And you have to just imagine and sense the result of the movement.
yeah.
Um, but I do tell my clients, oh, sorry, I want to hear more about positioning, but I think it's one of the most important things you can do for yourself, for your health.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, then the thing that we could add to this positioning is also the arms and legs, because where you put your arms and your legs may help bring the space, more space, available space. So,
Hmm.
like if you're on your back and you want to bring your knees to one side, like people like to, like the flip-flop knees,
Hmm. Hmm.
you may notice that actually you have more ability to bring air into a certain area when you bring your knees to one side, or when you
Hmm.
bring your one arm up or both arms up. Or if you're on your belly, you might want to like bend your legs and bring your feet to one side or in the
Hmm.
direction. As long as it's comfortable, I would say always start with ease, always.
Hmm.
So what is easy and comfortable? Sideline, the arm could be here, the arm could be there,
Hmm.
it could be behind your back. It all depends. The lungs do go really high as well.
Yeah,
And
they
people
do.
forget
Yeah.
that the clavicle and the importance of maintaining a good
Hmm.
junction and freedom of movement in this area. We know
Hmm.
the lymphatics is really important. We were going to talk a little bit about that at some point.
Yeah, we were.
Same
Maybe
thing.
we'll have to do one whole
Yeah,
talk on
and
the
same thing
lymphatic
with
system.
lower down too, right?
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
everywhere.
Well,
But
and something you can do right away, you just bring your arms up, rest them on top of your head, and you just And all of a sudden you have better access to that diaphragmatic movement because you've opened up. I mean, the fascial connections through your arms and everything, it just kind of exposes that side expansion of the ribs.
Yeah.
So that's really, yoga originally was designed as a preparation for meditation, but it's about bringing and inviting more ease in your body so that you could sit and meditate without pain. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a doorway to go through, conditioning your body so that you can then get more into your state of mind. Because if your body is continually pulling you away from your state of mind, it's
Yeah.
hard to do any work there. And so that relates to just regular life.
Yeah. And the pain also will pull them away from being present.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you breathe deeply if you're in pain?
Yeah.
So another reason why, like looking for ease in a position of comfort that's accessible to you, a lot of the
Mm-hmm.
chronic or the acute pain patients that come in here, I am certainly having a conversation about, well, what position are you sleeping in? That's a good
Mm-hmm.
indicator of their comfort. Where are they comfortable? And
Mm-hmm.
then, okay, well, how is your lower back when in this position? Are you happy? Um,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are you happy? Well, and also
yeah,
how you sit, like those two things, how you sit and how you sleep. They're things that you do every day, and they occupy a lot of your 24-hour time. So, you can collapse here and then try to breathe and then just kind of find your alignment and, oh, okay, now I have access.
yeah.
So the same would of course be true as you sleep. What do you have any positions that you recommend for sleeping?
I just would say look for comfort. I know a lot of people say belly sleepers, that's really bad. Yes, but if that's the
Maybe.
only position if that's the only position you're comfortable in, then you're a belly sleeper and
Right.
embrace it.
Yeah.
I would say with the belly sleeping, having something supporting underneath the shoulder, and or the hip so that you're, at least relieving a little bit of the possibility of
Right.
waking up and not being able to move your head, which
Right. Fill in that
I,
negative
I
space.
am
Yeah.
totally guilty. Maybe it's the dance career that made me a belly sleeper. I don't know, but that we sleep in our patterns. We like those
Mm-hmm.
positions for reasons. There's less strain on the body, and we can relax and feel safe and let go. But I have gradually, migrated to trying not to sleep like that and
Mm.
sleeping on my side, which I'm definitely more comfortable than I have been in the past.
Oh, good.
Um, and
Yeah,
yeah,
so changing it up might be important,
yeah,
Try not to always do the same thing, just like anything in life. Improve your shelf life by changing it up, changing it up.
we want to
We
increase
should
our
we
shelf
should
life.
probably stop here. Yeah, we want to improve our shelf life and quality, stay fresh.
Thanks, Marla.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Erica. And yeah, I mean, I feel like personally, and certainly put us together, we could probably talk about this for 4 hours, but
Yeah, easily.
to
I
be continued.
to be continued.
All right.